You always rapping like you're trying to get the freed. How dumb do you have to be to drop the bar when your cultural aptitude is already being in question? You should be leaning away from that. And because Drake said that, he walked into this entire verse. This verse would not exist if Drake doesn't say you rapping like you trying to get this freed. So Kendrick Lamar is looking real prophetic right now. He was spitting straight prophecy. His bars versus Drake have aged so well so far, especially with how everything has conspired with Drake after the beef with J. Cole. Like, this is making Kendrick Lamar look like a prophet. So I just want to look over his diss tracks and just go over some lyrics that I think have aged well so far. I know it's still relatively recent. We're about 5 months out. But man, this is aging really well so far. So let's start with Like That. Obviously, this is the verse that started it all. Obviously, Kendrick and Drake were sneak dissing each other before this, but this is what really took everything off. Not really any huge shots in this verse. I think the Prince outlived Mike Jack bar is great because Kendrick was going back and forth with Drake with this.
Nigga, Prince outlived Mike Jack.
They were going back and forth with the Michael Jackson and Prince references. And I actually think Drake had the best Prince Mike Jack reference on Family Matters, where he said, maybe I'm Prince, but you actually Mike.
Michael was praying his features would change so people believe that he's actually white.
I actually think that's lyrically the best bars, just lyrically from this entire beef, in my opinion. Kendrick has some really lyrical stuff on 616 in LA, but that Drake, it's all in your face, like what happened to Mike, maybe I'm Prince, but you actually Mike, that was crazy. So I think that aged well. Obviously, the big bar of this whole song, F the Big Three, is just Big Me.
Motherfuck the Big Three. Nigga, it's just Big Me.
That certainly seems to be the case. Kendrick has gotten a Super Bowl nod. He's going to perform at the halftime show since this beef. Kendrick has had the #1 record. He's had like 3 #1 records from this beef, if I'm not mistaken, right? Not Like Us. There was this record Like That. I think Euphoria was on its way to be #1. Kendrick dropped Not Like Us. So that kind of cannibalized Euphoria. But I think Euphoria went as high as #3. While Drake, I think, had Family Matters is really the only one that charted in the top 10. And then obviously we saw what happened with J. Cole, who completely just bowed out of the beef. He doesn't believe, I don't know, J. Cole just doesn't seem to believe he's on the same level as Kendrick and Drake. He always talks about Kendrick and Drake as if they're superior to him, like he's chasing their greatness and all this. Cool. So yeah, it's just Kendrick at this point. I think he was right about that. And this is the most direct diss in this whole verse. Yeah, you got the Big Three part, but this is actually where Kendrick takes a shot at Drake. All your dogs getting buried.
For all your dogs getting buried. That's a K with all these nines. He gon' see Pet Cemetery.
Drake had an album called For All the Dogs. Kendrick rebuttals, all your dogs getting buried. It's a K with these 9. He gonna see Pet Cemetery. You know, just lyrical bars, you know, rap battle type bars. And it's funny because before we get to the next song, it's funny because the first person to respond to this verse was J. Cole on 7 Minute Drill. 7 Minute Drill dropped before Push-Ups, Tailor Made Freestyle, Euphoria. 7 Minute Drill was the first official response of all this. And I don't really think Cole even got dissed in this verse. Obviously, Kendrick says F the Big Three, but the bars are really for Drake. All your dogs getting buried. Like, that's really who the direct diss is towards. So it's funny that J. Cole jumped out the porch first, and then he went back and apologized, and then doubled down on the apology on Port Antonio. That's neither here nor there. So anyways, the next track, Euphoria. So I think Euphoria is the most prophetic, especially this first part here, which when I first heard this song on my first reaction, I wasn't a huge fan of this part, the slower part of the song, the intro. I like this. I like when it picked up like around where he said, I hate when a rapper talk about guns.
And somebody died, they turn into none.
That's when the song got really good to me. But looking back, this is extremely prophetic in terms of the beef. Kendrick says, them superpowers getting neutralized. I can only watch in silence.
Them superpowers getting neutralized. I can only watch in silence.
And right now we're seeing Drake's superpowers get neutralized in real time. We're seeing Drake struggle to chart. He's charted, but he's had songs like Blue, Green, Red, like No Face, Housekeeping Knows featuring Lotto that he's released since this whole beef with Kendrick. They've charted. He's charted. But he's had trouble staying on the charts, which has never been something that Drake has had an issue with. He's always been able to get himself on the charts. He's been able to get others on the charts just by featuring on the record. So yeah, we are seeing a little bit of Drake's superpowers getting neutralized. And this wasn't the case before like Drake was coming off a huge tour. He was having great records, not great. He was having popular records with 21 Savage. Like he was doing his thing. So Kendrick kind of said this before it actually happened. The superpowers getting neutralized. The famous actor we once knew is looking paranoid and now spiraling. When you look at Drake's antics since the beef with Kendrick, 100 gigs joint, dropping all these different records, doing the joint with Chino Pacas, rapping in Spanish. And like just trying anything to try to catch some type of fire. Yeah, it can look like he's spiraling. We've never seen Drake like how he currently is. Now, do I think Drake is going to come out and have another hit record? Yeah, absolutely. And his next #1 record, he surpasses Michael Jackson for most #1 hits of all time. But again, them superpowers are looking neutralized a little bit, and it does look like Drake is spiraling a little bit, you know what I mean? Or a lot of it, some people would say. You're moving just like a degenerate.
Every antic is feeling distasteful.
Every antic is feeling distasteful. So, we've seen Drake in recent times, he's throwing a little bit of shots at J. Cole even. I think that's why J. Cole dropped the Port Antonio record. Because I think he knew Drake was probably not very happy with Cole dropping out of the beef so early. And like, if you're going to drop in, don't even step in the ring. Don't step in the ring if you're going to drop out. So we saw Drake doing some distasteful things, throwing shots at Cole, even seemingly throwing shots at Jay-Z for giving Kendrick the Super Bowl nod by posting that picture of Solange, that infamous Solange Jay-Z elevator incident. You're moving like a degenerate. Every antic is feeling distasteful. Just in these first 3 bars, look how much of this has come true. And it's still relevant. I calculate you're not as calculated.
Well, I calculate you're not as calculated. I can even predict your angle.
I can even predict your angle. Again, Kendrick says this before it happens. Like, you're not as calculated as you think you are, Drake. I can predict what you're about to do. And then what happened when Drake dropped his nuke, Family Matters? Boom. Meet the Grams was right there. Already ready.
Kendrick did not drop, bro. Not again, bro.
Then the next morning, Not Like Us, beef over. So it's like he predicted the end right here. You're not as calculated as you think. I can predict your angles. Watch this. Fabricating stories on the family front because you heard Mr. Morale.
Fabricating stories on the family front because you heard Mr. Morale.
Again, it's just so much in here. Kendrick says this because Drake mentions Whitney on Push-Ups.
I be with some bodyguards like Whitney.
But later in the beef, Drake mentions Kendrick's family again on The Heart Part 6, where he says, mother, I.
Mother, wait a second. That's that one record where you say you got...
Mother, I Sober is a record from Mr. Morale. So, fabricating stories. Kendrick said this before Drake even really leaned into it to do it. It's like he already knew what he was going to do. Like, he heard the records, which Kendrick, there's no way he could have heard The Heart Part 6 way back here. Because The Heart Part 6 was a direct response to the Not Like Us. It's like Drake debunking the PDF file allegations. But it's prophetic. He's like, I know what you're going to do. You're going to continue to fabricate stories because off of what I said on this Mr. Morale album. And that's exactly what Drake did. This whole little part, even though I wasn't feeling it at first, looking back at Euphoria, this is actually the most prophetic song of the entire beef. This part has aged so well. I hate when a rapper talk about guns and somebody die, they turn into nuns.
I hate when a rapper talk about guns and somebody die, they turn into nuns.
I don't think Kendrick meant it this way, but I kind of look at this, now that J. Cole has kind of dropped the Port Antonio apology to Drake and all this, I kind of look at J. Cole a little bit, when I hear this bar. J. Cole is talking about how good he is. J. Cole's always competitive with Drake and Kendrick. I don't think he actually wanted to diss anyone straight up, but he was always competitive. So I take this as a metaphor at J. Cole, and I'm doing my little reach in here. Let me reach a little bit. I hate when a rapper talk about guns. I hate when a rapper talks about, like, I'm the best, like, these MCs don't want it with me. Then when somebody die, they turn into nuns. Okay, so now when I take Drake completely out, humiliate him, destroy him in a rap beef. Oh, now I don't want to. You turn into nuns. I don't want to do this no more. And he hop online like, yo, pray for my city, faking for likes and digital hugs. Like, yo, now you online copping please. 4 months ago, you was on this, yo, nobody can mess with me type. Then somebody got clipped. Now you don't want to do this no more. I know that's not what Kendrick was mentioning, but I'm just saying, like, After all this has transpired, this is kind of how I hear this bar. We ain't gotta get personal. This a friendly fade. You should keep it that way.
We ain't gotta get personal. This a friendly fade. You should keep it that way.
So it's interesting that Euphoria is such a aggressive diss record, but Kendrick was not, he was pulling punches in this song. Like he kind of mentions Cole a little bit, but he doesn't really go all the way in on Cole like he could have because Cole apologized prior to this record coming out. But you can see he's saying, yo, Cole and Aubrey know I'm selfish. I pray they my real friends. Like he's still holding up the idea that, yo, we could still be cool. I pray they my real friends. If they're not, then cool. YNW Melly. Then he says there's 3 goats left. I seen 2 of them kissing and hugging on stage. So he's, even though he's dissing them, y'all kissing and hugging on stage, he's calling them goats. Like, yo, they're my friends. Like it's 3 goats left. We ain't got to get personal. It's a friendly fade. Like he done mentioned like 3 times in like 8 bars. It's friendly. So this is where Drake messes up. This could have just been a straight up normal rap battle, like, you know, the kind that J. Cole wanted. Or maybe he didn't want it. J. Cole didn't want to get personal. And this is what Kendrick is saying. We ain't got to get personal. We can be friendly. Keep it that way. And Drake chose not to, and we saw what happened. Now, I bet if Drake hear this record again and he hears this part, he's probably like, man, I should have just took the friendly fade, man. I should have just took that friendly fade. I like Drake with the melodies.
He sounds like Drake when he act tough.
I don't like Drake when he act tough. So now what is Drake about to do? What has been announced? Drake with the melodies, an album with Party Next Door. We about to get Drake with the melodies. Headshot for the year. You better walk around like Daft Punk. Yeah, this whole year, Drake, yo, I'm coming nonstop. Pause. It's not just gonna end when this rap battle ends. You're gonna continue to feel me for the rest of this year, which is what's happened. Number ones, like that. Number 1, not like us. Super Bowl announcement, pop-out show, and some more stuff still probably coming in the woodwork. This is headshots for the year. Put your helmet on like Daft Punk and just take it. Surprise you wanted that feature request.
Surprise you wanted that feature request. You know that we got some shit to address.
So this aged well because Kendrick and Drake were obviously privy to this, but the audience wasn't. But it's come out, allegedly, that Kendrick Lamar was supposed to be on First Person Shooter, right? That there's been rumors of that. Before we knew about what Kendrick was talking about here, he's addressing it. Now it sounds, with this knowledge, it's like, okay, we know exactly what he's talking about. I'm surprised he wanted me on First Person Shooter. You know we got something to address. When I see you stand by Sexy Red, I believe you see 2 bad.
When I see you stand by Sexy Red, I believe you see 2 bad bitches.
And then what did Drake do in the midst of this beef? He drops on June 25th, 2024. So this is pretty much after everything is spilt over. The beef is pretty much over. Not Like Us is already out. The Heart Part 6. Drake already quit. What does Drake do? Kendrick throws a shot at him. Like, yeah, I see you stand by Sexy Red. I believe you see 2 bad Bs. What is Drake going to do after this record? He goes and does a record with Sexy Red. I believe you don't like women. It's real competition. You might pop ass with them.
I believe you don't like women. It's real competition. You might pop ass with them.
Now, we've seen those pictures that come out of Drake recently where it's looking a little sus. Kendrick, like, I'm not saying you're gay, but bisexual perhaps? Like you competing with women, like you on some different timing. I actually don't think this bar right here, Back to Back, I like that record. I'm gonna get back to that for the record.
Back to Back, I like that record. I'm gonna get back to that for the record.
I actually don't think this bar had a chance. The beef didn't go on long enough for Kendrick to expound on that. But Kendrick is like forewarning. Like, yo, that Back to Back joint, your last diss record that you did, you know, that you were successful with. I like that. That was good. But I'm gonna get back to that. But when I first heard this, when I did my reaction, when I heard this, I was like, well, Kendrick is about to drop another record very soon. He's about to go back to back on Drake. Like how Drake went back to back on Meek Mill. He dropped the Charged Up record and then dropped back to back. That's why it's called Back to Back. He dropped 2 records in a row. When I heard this, I was like, oh, Kendrick is saying he's about to go back to back on Drake. Right after this record, he's going to drop another one, which he did. I actually think Kendrick wanted to expose something about Drake's record Back to Back. I think, I have no proof of this, but I think he was going to expose that perhaps maybe Daylight wrote on that record, but I don't know for sure. I think this bar right here, bring him out 2, I'll clean him out 2, tell Beam he better stay right with you. I think this will age even better if the audience begins to know who Beam actually is. Beam is a songwriter and producer. So if like a reference track with Beam comes out, or Beam exposes something, people are going to hear this bar differently too. It's going to age even better. Like, oh, Beam, oh, on Euphoria, Kendrick said, oh, lights are going to start going off. People are going to start understanding. I think this Run to America bar will also age well, because I just think on this upcoming album, I felt like this for a couple months. I think Kendrick is going to be like on his pro-America. I think there's going to be like a pro-America, not the whole album theme, but there's going to be at least a few messages on the album that's pro-country, pro-America. I don't know why I feel this way. Well, that's the stage I'm in. If you've seen my other videos, like, you'll know that when Kendrick drops an album, me and him are usually in like the same, similar spot mentally. When Kendrick dropped the To Pimp a Butterfly, I was already on my getting into my pro-black type-ish. Even Good Kid, Mad City, Section 80, like all those, it was like he's speaking directly to how I feel. And even on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, where Kendrick is talking about fake activism and I'm not your savior, I was like in that same mode. So now I'm in my pro-America. I think Kendrick might have a little bit of that on this album. And then when Kendrick did the Super Bowl announcement, what was behind him? A huge American flag. So, I mean, I think I might be right. But yeah, this is just complete speculation. I have no proof of this. But if Kendrick does have some pro-America messaging on the album, this little divide, this America-Canada divide, tell them Run to America, they can't imitate us, it's going to hit that much harder. And here, this last bar.
If you take it there, I'm taking it further. That's something you don't want to do.
If you take it there, I'm taking it further. Something you don't want to do. And Kendrick took it further on the Meet the Grams, then he took it further on the Not Like Us. So I actually think Meet the Grams is way more incriminating than Not Like Us. Not Like Us is just a banger, but Meet the Gram was way more vicious. But yeah, again, if you take it there, Kendrick is warning him this whole record. Yo, this is a friendly fade. Yo, y'all are goats too, but y'all kissing and hugging on stage. Ha, little playful jabs. You know what I mean? I pray they my real friends. If not, I'm YNW Millie. I'm telling y'all, if it's a friendly fade, keep it that way. If you take it there, I'm gonna go there too. Now, hearing this now after what happened, you're just like, that boy did take it further. He took it way further. All right, so 616 in LA. There's really just one bar I want to point out here. Somebody's lying. I can see the vibes on Ak. DJ Academics is Ak. Even he's looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back.
And I can see the vibes on Ak. Even he looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back.
Now at this time, we know Academics is pro Drake. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think most of us watching this video were pro Kendrick prior to the beef and we're rooting for Kendrick. There's no issue with rooting for your guy, right? I think today, this bar, like he's looking compromised, is hitting even harder because even DJ Academics' own audience is saying he's going a bit far. My thing is, if Academics, you want to root for Drake, you want to, highlight what Drake's doing, spotlight him, that's your guy, that's your favorite artist, he's been your favorite artist for a decade plus now, cool. If even you want to side with Drake in the beef and you want to downplay Kendrick's records and you want to hype up Drake's, cool. But I think now what Academics is doing, which I think I know you guys might not agree with me on this, but Academics usually has great takes regardless of his bias. He can be biased towards you, but then he could give a great take, like Lil Baby. Like, I don't think Academics really like, and I'm gonna stop calling this dude Lil Baby because I just don't know why a rapper would name himself Lil Baby when most of your fans are men. Now you got a whole bunch of men walking around calling you Lil Baby like a woman. When I don't think DJ Academics likes Dominique Jones like that, but when Dominique Jones drops a new record, Academics will critique it. You can tell he doesn't like him, but then he'll give real good follow-up. Like, it's not, regardless of his bias, he usually can deliver very fair takes, very fair points. Right now, I think even his own fans, Academics' own fans are seeing, it's not that Academics just doesn't like what Kendrick did to Drake and he's just pissed, even though he knows Kendrick won him, but he's just pissed and he's like, fuck Kendrick, whatever. Academics is taking it a step further and he's creating narratives now in his videos about Kendrick and about the Drake and Kendrick beef. It's like he's creating false narratives that even his own audience is like, we're Drake fans too, but stop. Even he's looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back. I think Out of 616, this is the bar that stands out to me that's aged the best. And again, here's another Michael Jackson bar. Maybe I'm Prince, you actually Mike. Yo, they were doing this the whole time. I love that part of the beef. That's the real lyricism part. Just the rebuttals with that. I really enjoyed that part. Now, Meet the Grams. I think this is actually a very vicious diss record. I think in terms of just pure disses, this is the best one in the whole beef, but it's also the most overlooked. I think this one and 616 in LA are the most overlooked. I think the reason why this record is overlooked, and it has the potential to age really well. You got 4 verses, but it's this third verse about an alleged daughter that Drake has. Now, I know people have been on social media putting up random kids, which is, I think is a little weird, that they believe to be Drake's daughter. I mean, it is weird. You know, just be posting these random kids. Drake has vehemently denied that he has a daughter that no one knows about. If this verse comes out to be true, this entire song is going to age the best out of anything in this rap beef. It's going to go from like the most overlooked song in the beef to the most infamous, if this gets proven correctly. Here's another bar. Cat Williams said, get you the truth, so I'm going to get mines. The embassy is about to get raided too. It's only a matter of time.
The embassy about to get raided too. It's only a matter of time.
So the embassy is what Drake calls his house. It's, you know, what the cover of Not Like Us. It's the embassy. He says the embassy is going to get raided too. Like kind of like Diddy's residence got raided. He says it's only a matter of time. But if this comes out to be true, that's why I say this record, Meet the Grams, it has the potential to be the most well-aged song out of all this beef. It has the potential to either age like wine or like milk. If it comes out like, yeah, Drake never had a daughter, this whole verse would spoil the song. And I think that's kind of what's happening now. I think this record doesn't really get the credit it deserves because everything Kendrick is talking about here in verse 3, it's up in the air. We don't know it to be true or not. So it kind of spoils everything else he's saying. Even this 4th verse, which I think is the best diss in the entire rap beef. This whole fourth verse is heavy. But the 3rd verse about the daughter, because there's question about that, it kind of puts question on the rest of the diss, which it shouldn't, but it does. But I think this entire song has the opportunity to age the best. And feel free to play this in the future if any of this gets proven correct, the daughter or the embassy getting raided. Yo, if either of those come true, yo, people are going to return to this record in awe, in respect. This is, okay, so Not Like Us, this is obviously everyone's favorite. Here's the embassy again in the cover art. So this bar right here, especially after J. Cole's Port Antonio record.
They cold foul. I don't know why you still pretending.
Like I said, you just hear it differently. Because none of us knew what Kendrick really was talking about right here. There's something that happened behind the scenes. Did Cole foul? I don't know why you still pretending. Did Cole foul? How? Now, today we probably have more insight on what was going on, but at the time, like, the whole J. Cole Port Antonio song kind of sounds like an apology. Like, the way J. Cole approaches that song, even the title, it's called Port Antonio, and the cover art is a picture of J. Cole and Drake in Port Antonio. It's kind of like J. Cole is trying to make amends, like trying to like heal relationship between him and Drake, which why does it need healing? It reveals that something went awry between Drake and J. Cole. Otherwise, why is Port Antonio is essentially an apology record to Drake. Like he already apologized to Kendrick, you know, way early in the beef, but now he's apologizing to Drake. But why? There's something that happened between here. Now we can, as time goes on, I think we're going to understand this bar a lot better than we do right now. Did Cole foul? I don't know why you still pretending. Effed on Wayne girl while he was in jail. That's conniving to get his face tatted like a... Apologizing. We don't really know Drake and Wayne's relationship. Wayne seems to be fine with him. I mean, he showed up. He was rapping a remix to Not Like Us, but he was saying, yo, they don't like us. They don't like us. I thought that was fire, actually. I thought if Drake would have, after this record, Not Like Us dropped, if Drake would have just did a remix to this record and used Wayne's hook, they don't like us, they don't, and really spat some fire verses, I don't think he would have suffered as humiliating a defeat. Like if he would have just remixed this instead of dropping a Heart Part 6, which is basically, Heart Part 6 is basically Drake quitting. White flag, right? This 3rd verse here, right? This entire verse and the punchline, the whole verse is a lead up to the punchline. You're not a colleague, you're a colonizer.
No, you're not a colleague, you're a fucking colonizer.
Which was basically Kendrick's entire theme throughout this rap beef. Like, You're not one of us. You're not even yourself. You don't even like yourself. You're using people. That's why your own team doesn't like you. This is him on 616 in LA. Kendrick was basically saying this line, you're not a colleague, you're a colonizer. Like, you're not one of us, like you're just using us. He was alluding to it pretty much the entire beef, but he just never came outwardly and said it until right here and just put it in plain English language. This punchline encapsulates this whole verse. The entire verse, usually a punchline it's set up by like 1 or 2 bars before it. This punchline is set up by this entire verse. This verse does not exist if on Family Matters, Drake doesn't say,
always rapping like you about to get the slaves freed.
You always rapping like you're trying to get the slaves freed. How dumb do you have to be to drop the bar, you always rapping like you're trying to get the slaves freed, when your cultural aptitude is already being in question? Rick Ross on the Champagne Dreams diss track, which happened like at the very beginning of this whole beef, Rick Ross is calling into question, calling you white boy, saying you got plastic surgery, saying you wish you this black. This is someone who knows Drake. Like, they spent time together, many songs together. He's already calling into question your cultural credentials. You should be leaning away from that. To go on Family Matters and then say you're rapping like you're trying to get the slaves freed, that logically puts the slaves here and you here. You're on the opposite side of everyone else. Like, and because Drake said that, he walked into this entire verse. This verse would not exist, and this super damaging punchline would not exist if Drake doesn't say you rapping like you trying to get the slaves freed. Maybe Not Like Us is just 2 verses, or maybe it's a 3rd verse, but the 3rd verse is about something totally different. He walked right into this verse by saying that. Yo, you gotta read the room. I don't know if Drake wrote that, or if one of his writers wrote the slaves free bar, but you gotta read the room. You're already being painted as a colonizer. So to say you rapping like you trying to get the slaves freed, this is probably the easiest verse Kendrick has ever written in his life. Like Drake set himself up for this entire verse. Then what happened? What's happening right now? Young Thug sends out a tweet like, yo, me, Future, Metro, we all need to start working together again. So what is Drake doing? He's running back to Atlanta. Thug is from Atlanta, Future from Atlanta, Metro from Atlanta. You run to Atlanta when you need a check balance. You call Future when you didn't see the club. Dominique Jones helped you get your lingo up. Drake wants to preserve his relationship with Future, even though this entire thing popped off because of a Future song where he let Kendrick Lamar get on a song and talk crazy. Drake does not want any issues with Future. That's all. Everybody caught strays. The Weeknd, Rick Ross, A$AP Rocky, Kendrick, Cole. Everybody caught strays except the nigga that was on a song and that lets you get dissed like that. Except the nigga who was rapping on 2 straight albums that's full of disses to you, which is Future. Everybody caught strays except Future. Because Drake wants to preserve that. Why? You run to Atlanta when you need a check balance. So this is aging, bruh. If we see Drake back on a song with Thug, he already dropped the No Face record, which did all right. It just couldn't stick to the chart for some reason. If we see Drake back with Atlanta artists, and he actually charts, like, okay, Drake, he finally got a record that stayed on the chart, and it's Drake featuring Future or Thug or Metro. This whole verse is already aging well, but it's gonna age that much better. So yeah, man. Yo, Kendrick Lamar's looking real prophetic right now. Prophecy. Like, really, his bars are aging really well, and there's still a bunch of bars from this beef that have the potential to come true. I want Meet the Grams to be remembered for as vicious of a diss record as it actually is. But in order for that to happen, verse 3, it's either got to be proven wrong, like, yeah, Kendrick was wrong, in which case people are just going to invalidate the whole record, sadly. You know, that last verse deserves a lot of attention. But if it comes true, this is going to be the one that really ages well. But what do y'all think were the bars that aged the best from Kendrick in that rap beef? You know, we've gotten months to really sit with this and let time pass and see how things play out. So what do y'all think? What bars stick out to you like, yo, that boy Kendrick was right about that one? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Top5website.com. Peace.